Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, the 19th of August. I think it might be the 20th. And I'm going to do my little weekly garden walk here with you guys. I also have some little chores I have to do in the back garden we had a storm a few days ago and some things need to get tied up, and do a little harvesting too while we're chatting. So it's gonna be hot today, actually close to 90, which is exciting. And I'm not gonna want to do those chores later on, so I'm gonna take advantage now while we're only at about 70 this morning, and do our walk together. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start here in the shade side of the house. Everything is doing really well. That's that Sum and Substance hosta there. And the daisies are really starting to flush out again. So that's nice. We'll have some daisies here soon. And I wanted to show some of the foxglove that I put in the ground here. These are the ones that were in their little containers for so long, and I have them spread around in this area. I've got a couple that are looking like they're gonna put on blooms even though they got in the ground late, so that's fun. They seem to be really happy. I haven't lost a single one. So that's fantastic considering how long they were in their containers. But those little like cottony fabric containers are great, and it gives them plenty of air on their roots and everything like that, so they weren't really root bound or anything, which I think really helped. I'll probably use those a lot more going forward, knowing myself and how I can let things sort of sit. And it's a little bit later in the day than normal, so the sun is going to be behind me, so apologize for any shadows that I'm throwing. This is the Empress Wu. That's only its second year. It's doing beautifully. I did lift one of these pavers to see exactly what I was dealing with here, because of course I'm going to lift all of these pavers. These are really substantial. So I'm going to have to probably have my sons and my daughter come and help me with that once that project really gets underway, which I'm hoping to have it at least all pulled up before winter hits this year. I'd really like to be able to just hit the ground running next spring with getting that into shape for the new look I want to have over there. This is the Wu La La hosta, gorgeous. These little heucheras are doing fantastic over here too. All the bees. I'm sorry, I'm really trying to keep my shadow out of the way here. The bees and the butterflies and everything, still absolutely loving the serendipity alliums. This little sedum is starting to get a little flower change there. Yeah, not too much going on up here in the front. I did go through and just kind of weed some of the dandelions that were forcing their way up through the cardboard or any kind of cracks they found in the cardboard. But otherwise, nothing has really changed out here. This is also a Empress Wu here. Gets a lot more sun than the other one, but doesn't seem to mind. Daylilies are still going, the going bananas ones. And I still have flowers on the beautiful Casablanca lilies. I can't wait for this to really, spread here and just be a big bunch. That's going to be really gorgeous. Let's see, the Triloba Rudbeckia, starting to get some flower buds on them. And you know what I've noticed is that, so this one and that one are definitely the Triloba Rudbeckia, but these other ones that I put in, I think these might be Echinacea. And I know that I had them sort of clumped together. So there's 1, 2, 3 that I'm pretty sure are Echinacea of some kind, and they're doing fantastic here, really, because I have some in the ground up front that they're just not putting on any kind of growth, really. This sweet little dahlia, so cute. And we'll come around the side here. I think let's go up on the porch first and just take a look at the green stalks, because they're really starting to put on growth. And you can see the seeds that I planted last weekend. So this spot have the cilantro, and nothing popping up there yet, but the lettuces are all popping up beautifully, and that's in both of these green stalks. But also we're starting to see a lot of buds on the Kallima green beans, and I've even got some little buds coming on these peppers that I stuck in here. So that's cool. We'll get a few little peppers. The cucumber, the pickle bush cucumber is doing fantastic in all of their spots. I even have a few cucumbers actually that I could probably pick, not on these ones, but over on this side. So you can see they seem pretty happy, and they're not complaining. And this little bit of heat, oh, there's a little cuke in there, yeah, that we're getting is helping everything put on just that little burst of growth. And we had a storm here, so just a couple days ago I was talking about, we had a storm. We did have tornado warnings. We had seriously really intense winds, and these totally stand up to that. I never am worried that I'm going to come out here and find them tipped over or anything like that when we have any kind of weather. So that is very nice. Okay, so here's my little toolkit I'm going to take with. Did have some stuff that got blew down, like this, the Star Child dahlia is laying forward, so I'm going to go ahead and tie that back to the trellis. I got a couple of tomatoes on this trellis over here that need to get tied up as well. And so let's just get those chores done together. And I'm just going to be using this plastic, like this stretchy plastic green ribbon to tie things back. It's really fantastic because it gives the plant, first off, you can just break it like that, but it stretches, so it lets the plant move and grow, and it doesn't cut into anything or hurt it at all in that process. So I'm just going to take this and tie it back to the trellis. Just like that, nice and quick. And I got a tomato over here as well that we had. You can see here, it just, I mean, you can leave this on the ground. I mean, tomatoes are naturally vining plants, but this is a place where we walk a lot, and I just don't want to end up stepping on it or hurting any of the tomatoes and losing tomatoes. So again, I'm just using this green plastic tape. I'm gonna just come right in under a little leaf here and just tie it back. It doesn't need to be anywhere special. Just here where I have an open space. And then while we're here, I'm gonna also go ahead and do some harvesting of the tomatoes. So these are all paste tomatoes. These are 10 fingers of Naphtali. And what I've been doing is, once they're pretty much blushed, so this one is not fully ripe, but it's consistently blushed all around, where you can see this one still has some yellow. I'm picking them at this stage, bringing them in the house, letting them ripen up fully, and then what I'm doing is like the core and score. So I'm just taking the core out of the top, making a little cross on the bottom with a knife, and then putting them in my freezer. So once the garden is done, and I don't have any more work out here so much, then I'll start preserving my tomatoes for the year. And we intend to do some tomato sauce and salsa and stuff like that. And it's just a lot easier to do that when you don't have a whole lot going on. Plus, getting the water bath canner and everything like that going in the house when it's so hot, or even a little bit hot, is kind of a pain. You know, I'm gonna pull that one too. So this just makes the whole process spread out a little bit more, so I don't have to do everything all at once. And leave that one. Okay, so not bad. Let's see how things are going out here. Everything is really beautiful. This this basil is wild. I've got to come and cut this back. I'm gonna cut a bunch of basil, not so much of the zinnias, but I'm also gonna come in and cut back a bunch of the cosmos and stuff like that. Make some nice bouquets. The bees will be sad when there's not so much of this basil, but it will flush back pretty quickly, so I'm not too worried about it. Well, let me grab my tomato container here, because I also have some larger slicing tomatoes, so we're just eating these fresh. And these are the Thornburns Terracotta. They're delicious. There's just enough acid. Sometimes orange tomatoes can be too sweet for my taste, as far as tomatoes go, but these have a nice rich tomato flavor with just the perfect amount of acid. So all you need is a little bit of salt, and these are really enjoyable. And they are ripening up pretty quickly for a decent sized tomato. I'd say majority of them are about this size, maybe about the size of a baseball or a little smaller, which is also nice because it was really just me and my daughter living here, so can't have too much coming at once, or else we get overwhelmed and then food goes bad. Let's see, what else do we got going on here? These cucumbers, these are fantastic. Let me grab my knife. This is just my garden knife. It's got a little bit of a hook shape there, and it makes it a lot easier to harvest some things that have stronger attachments than like the tomatoes do. Just like that. Got a beautiful cucumber. These are really sweet and yummy. I've been using them just fresh, but now that they're starting to come on a little bit faster, I will probably start using these in the process, what what's the word I'm looking for? Fermenting pickles. So all of the cosmos are just stunning. They're gorgeous. And the bees are loving them. The butterflies are loving them. I'm loving them. It's just so beautiful. They're everywhere. And there's so much color here with them. I love the wildness of them. It's like, I'd love to just have a giant field full of cosmos. They're really beautiful. And the nice thing is they can get wild like this, and I can cut them and then they just flush right back. They do not complain at all. These potatoes are blooming like crazy. When I grew these potatoes last year, I don't remember getting blooms for this long. These things are just intense. So I'm going to leave these in the ground until basically the frost kills back the whatever is on, growth is left on top. And then we'll dig in and do a potato harvest to see if we actually get anything off of these, because these were volunteers from potatoes that I grew last year in grow bags, and then dumped the soil into actually that bed right there. They volunteered in there, and I pulled them up and moved them over here because that has the strawberries in it, and I didn't want to have to dig up the strawberry beds if there's going to be potatoes. So we'll see how much we get off of these, if anything at all. And then there was one potato in here that I actually missed, but this one isn't flowering, so I don't know if we'll see anything off of that or not. I don't actually know how much the flowers have to do with the actual production of tubers off of potatoes. So if anybody knows that, let me know, because if they do have anything to do with it, this is going to result in a ton of tomatoes or potatoes. I don't know why I keep saying tomatoes. Apologize for that. Do have a few squash in here too that I want to get at on the different plants. I've been cutting them pretty small, like about this size. Again, it's just me and my daughter, so we're not eating a massive amount of food every day, but we are able to eat fresh out of the garden every single day, so it's nice. I think the amount of plants and the production that they are giving us is just right for 2 people. A few more squash over here. Ooh. This squash actually got lifted in the storm, and I had to come out and kind of reset it in the bed because it was all flopped over on itself. And this has been our most productive squash for sure, squash plant. I only have 2 varieties, so these are, I think they're a gray zucchini they're called, and then I have like a yellow summer squash. We'll go and cut some of those right now. Look at these cosmos. This mix with the double click, the rosy double click, and then these apricota. Oh, it's so gorgeous. And then the sunflower. This is, right now, is just my absolute favorite spot. It's just so pretty. Oh, it really warms my heart up. And then we've got these gladiolas that I talked about before, that these were just some corms that I got at Menards. But this color is so romantic. It's this antique lavender. It's really beautiful. Now I remember why I bought them. And I'm only going to get a few, but and I originally had wanted to grow them so I could cut them for bouquets, but because they're just so gorgeous and I only have a few of them, I'm going to leave them in the beds to enjoy out here in the garden. So you get a little more life out of them. But yeah, oh, this sunflower. It's perfect. It's a beautiful, perfect, happy sunflower. And there's tons more all down the stem here. I'm excited for that. And then with the cosmos just like all surrounding it. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. Okay, let's see. Pretty sure I have at least one squash in here. Yeah, here we go. These little yellow ones, just your basic yellow summer squash. I think they might be the straight neck variety. Get in here and grab this other one. Yeah, very nice. Probably should have done the squash first so they're not sitting on top of my tomatoes. Reorg this a little bit. Not that, like these ones, it's not so bad because they're not fully ripe, so they're not soft, but these bigger ones are pretty soft. I don't want those to get squashed. Haha, literally squashed. Let's get this in here. Oop. Cannot wait to eat that squash. Gonna have a nice little squash saute this afternoon, I think. There we go. That's better now. I don't have to worry too much about things getting bruised up. Oh, the monarch butterflies are here, but I haven't seen any caterpillars or even any type of caterpillar on this parsley. And the whole reason why I let it go to seed was for the caterpillars, but I guess we'll see. There's still time, but we are definitely seeing monarch butterflies around the garden. Let's see here. Yeah. This bed here and that bed on the other side are, well, actually the whole row. Let me come out here. You'll be able to see it better. So these two beds here and these two beds here are actually on top of the gravel of my driveway. You can see it goes in that far, so it has a little bit more drainage than the other beds, and I do have to keep these watered more. So sometimes the tomato plants that I have in here aren't necessarily as vigorous as tomato plants in the beds closer to the house, and it's because they're not getting the same kind of water, but they're still doing just great. Let's see here, sunflowers coming on, beautiful. These were also knocked down in the storm. I do have a stake in here kind of holding them up, and I'm going to have to come in, I think, with a second one and give those a little bit more. But I'm also going to do a chop back on them, so that might help help them stand up a little bit straighter. Let's see. Put my knife away here while I'm not paying attention. Don't want to cut myself. These cosmos, they're still beautiful. I probably won't cut these back just because they are shorter and they do seem to have a neater habit, so no real reason to cut those back. These green beans here, they're dealing with the same kind of thing that like the tomatoes are. It's just not as wet as it needs to be, so I have to make sure that I come out here and water them. They're definitely getting picked quite a bit too, so there's not a lot of beans on here right now. But I do also have, Well, I have this sage here that's doing just fine, seems happy as can be. But I also have morning glory growing up here. I think that this is like the one that gets those big, huge white blooms. So that's really starting to put on some growth and growing up in here. That'll be really pretty once that starts, and I have it on both sides. You can see here. This one is not doing as well, not climbing as hard, but it's starting. So that's all we can ask, right? It's trying. This peach melba nasturtium is just, it's a monster. It's the monster nasturtium of the garden this year. It's everywhere. It's spilling out. It's gorgeous. And then with the Alaska poking through in different places with its variegated leaves, it's really, I'm loving this. Even though it comes out into my walkway, I don't even care. I'm not going to cut any of that back. I really, really enjoy it. It's beautiful. And the Alaska is kind of more of a climber. So you see it, it's a vining one. So when I see long tendrils of it, I'm just kind of wrapping it up around the tomato cages that we have in here. And these are the sweet peas, the flowery sweet peas, not the ones you eat, that I had in the little white pots hanging on the arches earlier in the year, and I just popped them out and stuck them in the beds because they weren't getting enough water. And they seem to be having some growth, so hopefully we'll have sweet pea flowers coming off of these for the fall. That'll be nice because I didn't get any for the spring. The straw flowers are gorgeous. I love straw flowers so much. I can come in here and cut some for bouquets, and the nice thing about it is if you can put them in water for a while, and then if you get them pulled out, fast enough, you can still dry them. So you can enjoy them both in a fresh bouquet and then again later on in the season in a dry bouquet. I really enjoy that. Enjoying a zinnia. Yeah. And still with the stock still going in here. I'm really just so surprised by that. I guess I've never grown stock before, so I'm not 100% sure if that's how they're supposed to grow or not. But I thought that they kind of fizzled out once it got warmer. But luckily we haven't had that consistent warmth this year, so it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Now this is a squash plant here. This is a yellow squash. You can see there's a little squash. I've not gotten a single squash off of this plant, but you just see all the male flowers. It's putting out a ton of male flowers, and it's just starting to put out female flowers. Between the other 3 squash plants, I'm getting more than enough squash. So I may end up just pulling this out and giving my Cafe au lait dahlia here just all the space it wants here, and because this is competition for the tomatoes, it's competition for everything else that's in this bed, and it's a big plant. It shades stuff, it pushes stuff around, so I think I'm probably going to end up pulling this one out because it just hasn't been, it's not super productive, and I'm getting enough out of the other plants that I have. These aster are givers for sure. It seems like every time I cut one, I come out the next day and there's 2 more ready to go. They're beautiful. They last really nicely in the vase. Super happy with those. The Seascape strawberries are really starting to put on good sized strawberries, and tons of them. Again, these are an ever-bearing variety. And so they'll go all the way to frost. My daughter comes out here every morning and picks these clean. And they're delicious. Oh my God, they're so good. They're really, really sweet. You can see we're starting to have a nice big flush come on with these. This little nasturtium, now this nasturtium is a volunteer, and this spot here last year was my monster nasturtium. It was all over the place, all over the ground, everywhere, but it just didn't come back as strong. So, well, I guess it didn't really come back anyways, right? It's a seed. One of the seeds fell off and germinated there, and I let it stay. So, I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely not like that peach Melba, and it was last year. So I probably will put a fresh nasturtium. I like to have nasturtiums in every bed if I can. So next year I think I won't let these volunteers go in this particular bed. I will just pull them up and put something new, freshly started in there. Look at this little strawberry right here. Ooh, that is a treasure. Could pull that off and my daughter would never know. Yeah, she probably has a map of all the strawberries that are ready. This little rudbeckia in here, so pretty. Starting to put some extra stems on. Loving it. These pink dahlias are gorgeous, and they're all so different, but definitely the same plant. You can see some of them open with a little bit of lighter color, and then as they age out, they become a much softer pink. By the time they're ready to be cut, they're this much softer pink. And then this one has like that lighter color in it. They're gorgeous. Really pretty, very cheery. They look gorgeous in a bouquet. I'm super happy with them. Have a little bit more of them over here. And then I also have some yellow zinnias in here. I actually came in and cut on these. I think those are the Benary Giants, but I have another one over here. So this is that Benary's Giant right there. They're beautiful. And they're doing fantastic. Okay, let's see. I think that's pretty much it this morning. Everything is doing beautifully. Super happy that we didn't get too much destruction with the storm. It really blew hard and the house was shaking, and there were definitely tornado warnings all over. So I was a little bit worried when I got up the next morning that things were going to be trashed out here, but not too bad at all. I'm going to cut these Cornell Bronze and bring them in for a bouquet. It's my understanding that dahlias are similar to like zinnias and cosmos and things like that. The more you kind of cut them, the more they flower. So I'll be out here trimming these up. Not these though. I'm not cutting these because they just don't last at all in the vase. But they, and they seem to be pretty prolific in their flowering without me having to come. I just come out and pull off and just do the little deadhead and pull off the finished. You can see this one is finished, and then this one has yet to bloom, so they're rounder. When they're finished, they have this more longer, almost like a little daffodil type shape to them. So I just come and pull those off, and they just keep going. This tomato section has gotten a little bit crazy, but I'm really happy with it. Oh, cucumbers. Okay, let's talk cucumbers. Tons of cukes coming on here, and these are delicious. I've been picking these pretty much every other day and bringing those in for refrigerator pickles as well. And all the little containers are doing okay. They did get pretty dry with the storm, so I had to come through and do some cut back on them. These are zinnias. These are zinnias. I just had to come in and kind of clean them up a little bit. Some of them fared just fine. Others definitely had to get cleaned up. But these are great for the small variety of zinnias, and because zinnias don't mind getting dried out. So I'll definitely probably do zinnias in those again next year. And then we've got a few pansies that are just hanging on, waiting for that cooler weather to come through again. And then the hollyhocks still going strong. They've been really beautiful. Some of them did kind of get a little bit blown around with the storm, but I have these tied back to the kennel, like these really big ones. These are all tied to the kennel. They're not just, you know, growing freely. Things that get this tall, they're gonna fall down no matter what, whether you have wind or not. They're just too big. Their stems are not strong enough to hold their weight. So you really do have to come in and stake them. Like these have stakes in here, and then the other ones are tied back to the kennel. So there's a little tip on how to keep your hollyhocks looking nice through the whole season, because they are beautiful and they just you know, they'll keep flowering for a long time. So you don't want to lose them just because they fell over. It's definitely worthwhile to take a little time and stake them up. But yeah, so that's everything this morning, and thanks for coming along and helping me with a few little chores. I'll probably go around and maybe do some trimming on the tomatoes here as well. And like I said, I'm going to cut back the cosmos and stuff like that. Maybe I'll do a little video on making up a nice big cosmos bouquet with all the stuff I cut back. We'll see. I'll have to see how much my animals can in the house tolerate me recording in the house. But yeah, so I really appreciate everybody coming along and taking your time to watch the video. I hope that you guys get a little enjoyment out of it. I know how much I love watching other people walk through their gardens, and it's something I like take time for every Sunday morning, and just watch people and listen to how they talk about their plants growing, what they're doing for their plants, things that succeed, things that fail, and then I learn a little bit too, but I also get a nice bit of relaxation out of it. So I hope that this is doing the same for everyone who watches these videos. That is the goal. But yeah, I hope that you guys all have a really fantastic day. All the love in the world to my family, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.